Good day, I'm Dave Middleton and this is the Critical Mass News Review for November the 10th. The news continues to be dominated by Gaza, as the number of Palestinians killed surpasses 10,000, and with the Israeli bombardment showing no signs of abatement, we look at what the press are saying and how one left website is reacting. But we start with some brighter news for those in the UK supporting a ceasefire. On Wednesday, the Welsh Senedd voted by 24 votes to 19 to call for an immediate ceasefire. The motion was put forward by Plaid Cymru and supported by the Liberal Democrats and a number of Labour Assembly members. However, in a sign that the famous Welsh Labour dragon is being chained down, the entire Welsh cabinet, including former Corbyn supporter Mark Drakeford, chose to abstain. Meanwhile, across the Channel, a group of French lawmakers are proposing to make criticism of Israel illegal. The group of Zionist legislators want to make any criticism of Israel punishable by up to 5 years in prison. So if you're in France, be very careful what you say about Israeli avocados, as you could well find yourself in the dock. Fortunately, wiser heads are likely to prevail, and this legislation will probably never see the light of day. Now let's have a look at the papers. Well, the papers this week have been leading on Gaza, with the tabloids doing their best to make sure we avoid worrying too much about the growing humanitarian crisis, preferring to concentrate on what they have, in a twist of irony of which Jonathan Swift would have been proud, labelled hate marches. The Daily Express here manages to conflate Armistice Day, which is on Saturday, with Remembrance Sunday, and have demanded, along with Suella Braverman, that this weekend's peace marches be banned. Rishi Sunak is also on board, saying he does not want peace campaigners to spoil the occasion. What occasion is this exactly? Remembrance Sunday is supposed to be a remembrance of those who died in wars to protect our freedoms. That has been lost entirely on a generation who, having never had to fight in a war, see the entire parade as an excuse to glory in our militaristic past. Ironically, as they're observing their minute's silence and listening to the last post, somebody will inevitably use the phrase "never again," without the slightest embarrassment that a good proportion of those leading the parade are encouraging precisely the again that we are supposed to be avoiding. And where's Labour in all this? Well, this front page from the Evening Standard of Keir Starmer does not show a man who thinks all is well with his world. Essentially, Starmer is trying to act like a Prime Minister in waiting, which he seems to have interpreted as simply repeating whatever the current Prime Minister says. Now, whilst this has got him a pretty healthy lead in the polls, it has entirely split his party over Gaza. Labour councillors are still resigning, front benchers are giving up their posts, and nearly half of the Parliamentary Labour Party are backing a ceasefire. Labour has not looked like an opposition for a good while now, but all of a sudden it no longer looks like a government in waiting either. We expect the tabloids to be on the wrong side. After all, the Daily Mail famously supported the Nazis prior to World War II. But we tend to expect better from papers with a liberal reputation such as The Guardian. In this front page, they simply repeat uncritically the Israelis, who say they will agree to a ceasefire only if Hamas gives back all the captives. But Hamas offered precisely that on October the 27th. Israel refused. We might expect that The Guardian would point this out, but rather they do what everybody else is doing, blame the whole mess in the Middle East on Hamas, rather than explaining that Hamas are a product of a series of bad decisions made by the West, not the cause of them. It simply defies logic to refuse to support a ceasefire as a first step towards peace, but at the same time claim to be in favour of a humanitarian intervention. What meaningful intervention can there possibly be when the Israelis have made it clear that they intend to completely destroy Gaza as a Palestinian enclave? Now, away from the national press, many people rely on the left for their news. There have been some excellent articles in virtually every left outlet, including ours. But those closest to Labour seem unable to take a view that is contrary to that of Starmer, and therefore are ending up supporting a government which is unapologetically encouraging war crimes. For example, Left Foot Forward describes itself as the home for progressives everywhere, yet their coverage of Gaza has been, to say the least, muted. There was just one article last week titled "Trade Unions That Have Called for a Ceasefire." On Keir Starmer's position, there was just one paragraph pointing out that he held firm in his view, resisting calls for a ceasefire, arguing that a ceasefire could risk emboldening Hamas. Although nobody ever explains how stopping the slaughter of women and children would do this exactly. A week earlier, Left Foot Forward reported on the pressure being put on both Sunak and Starmer to call for a ceasefire. It feels obvious that any views it has on this subject are being translated through a filter approved by Starmer's press office. This left publication describes itself as providing hard-hitting news and commentary for the left by the left. And to be fair, it has some excellent articles exposing the madder fringes of the right. The coverage of Starmer's stance on Gaza, though, does not feel like being hit by a hammer. Rather, it feels like we have been pummeled by a very soft marshmallow. Well, that's it for the Critical Mass News Review this time. Do make sure to follow us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook and X-Twitter, and pop onto our website and sign up for our daily newsletter if you haven't already done so. Until next time, this is Dave Middleton, signing off.